Hello guys, welcome to today's tutorial on HTML and CSS. Hope you are able to learn a thing or two from the previous videos. If you have not watched, kindly go back and watch. Today we'll be talking about CSS, cascading style sheet. This is where things get interesting. You get to put styles on your web page. Things get to be where you want them to be. Now CSS describes how HTML elements must be rendered on screen. It is used to define styles for your web page, including the design, layout, and variations in display for different devices and screen sizes. Now, let's dive into the work at hand. Let's say our first class will work on index.html. So we want to style this page. Now there are different kinds of styling. There are different ways to insert style into your web page. The first one is the inline CSS, whereby you can add your style directly to the element you want to style. Let's say I want to style this is header 1. Just bear with me. I want to give it a color or something. I can just write it in front of this tag name, directly in the tag. I can just make it an attribute of the tag. Now that is one of the ways of inserting style sheet. The second one is internal style sheet. Internal style sheets are style sheets that are embedded inside the head using the style tag. So all your style goes into this place. The third one is the external style sheet. The external style sheet is an external file different from your HTML file that you create. Let's create a new file. You can give it any name you want, but make sure you name it. Make sure the extension is CSS, style.css. Now, anything you put inside this place is called an external style, which you can link to your web page, your main web page, using the link tag. Link href equals style.css relation equals a style sheet. So anything you put inside this style here will be applicable to the corresponding element in your web page. Let's put a comment in front of it. External style sheet. Right, so this right here that we're about to open here is, let's say, color red. Now this right here is an inline style sheet. Sorry. Now let's refresh and see. Let's locate the file index.html. So you have this. Now this is the header one that was styled as red. Let's change it to green so that we'll be sure of what we're doing. Green. Yeah, there we go. It's working fine. So this is an example. This right here is an example of an inline style sheet. Now let's do something with internal style sheet. For style sheets, the basic syntax is a selector, opening brace, your property and your value. Now your selector here can actually be a tag name, which is this h1 or this body or this h2 or this b or this I. I previous class I said tag names are the immediate word after the opening brace, after this angle bracket, the next word, the immediate next word. So the immediate next word here is h1. So h1 here is a tag name, h2 here is a tag name, p here is a tag name, pre here is a tag name. But style here is not a tag name. Style here is an attribute. I think we understand. So selectors can be a tag name or a class. Now let's say I want to style this h6 using a class selector. What I do is I open a class here equals to any name I want to give to it. h6, okay, let's say header 6. This is a class selector. Now you can use them in your internal style sheet or your external style sheet. Now the third one we can have is an ID selector. ID selector, let's say we want to style this h3 ID. We just use an ID, then you give it any name you want to give it. Now this is the catch, this is the difference. For an element selector, which is your tag name, what you use directly, you just type your tag name directly, h1, let's say h2 here. We've styled h1 with an inline style sheet. Let's say we want to style h2 with an internal style sheet now. So you can just say h2, then the opening brace, then you say color red. Okay, so here, anywhere there's h2 in this document, the color will always be red. Now let's save that and check. Header 2 is now red. Now there is another catch. Let's say, like I said earlier, anywhere you have h2, so which means every h2 you have in your document is going to be red. So just because we are using h2, it still came out as red because we start all our h2 to be red. I think we get it. Now in the case whereby I actually want this one to be green and this one to be red, they are both h2 and I've started h2 here to be red, then I stop using an element selector. It's actually not a good advice to use tag name as selector. To use element name as selector, it's always good to go with class selector or ID selector. Now in the case whereby I have so many h2 in my document which are supposed to be different styles, this is supposed to be a color yellow and this is supposed to be a color, okay, let's say this is supposed to be color red normally, but the second one is supposed to be color blue. So what do we do in this case? We change our selector here to a class selector. Now to specify a class selector in our style sheet, we use a notation, the dot notation. Now let's say this h2 I want to call it class equals red h2. Now that is what I want to call this class. Now I can just come here and say dot red h2. Now this is going to give me a red h2 here. Now here you can see that we still have h2 here, we still have h2 here, but here we are using a class selector and we have defined it here. So if we refresh, though both of them are still H2. This is the only one that gets styled because this is the only one that we're applying the red H2 to. Now if I apply that red H2 to any other element, it is also going to turn out red. There we go. Which means you don't have to keep writing styles for each element. If you have elements that has the same styling, you can just put the same class name in both the element and style that class name to the style you actually want. Now the third one is ID selector. Let's talk about the ID selector. Now if you want to use the ID selector, you can just declare an ID. Let's say you want to use an ID selector for this H3. You declare your ID with any name you want. Eda 3. That is the name of our ID we want to use. Now while we use dot notation for our class and a direct name for our element, we use an hash for an ID notation. So let's say ID eda 3, right? Our brace, then we can say what color do we want to give it? Color aqua. So let's check that. Eda 3. So this right here is an inline style sheet. This right here, if we go by its H1, we styled it inline. This is an inline style sheet. Maybe we should even write it. It's there already. Now this right here is using an internal style sheet with class selector. And this right here is also an internal style sheet, but with an ID selector. I hope you get it. Now the same way you write your style inside the style tag here is the same way you can write it in your style sheet. Let's just cut and paste it here. Save that. Don't forget our style tag for the internal style sheet is in between the head, and our link here is also in between the head. Now what we want to do now is we've tried out internal style sheet, we've tried out inline style sheet. What we want to do now is to try out the external style sheet. Now we've linked it, link href. Don't forget hyperreferencing from our link the other time, our anchor tag, which links to the file we want to open. Now make sure your file is in the same directory as your index or the file you're using, so that it will be easier to call. If you create, it's also a good practice to create a new folder for it for styles. So you can actually create a new folder, style, then move your style sheet into it. And if you're doing that, don't forget to add the folder style dot style style slash style dot css. I think we get it. Now let's see if that works. But I'll still have the same thing. Let's style something else. Let's say dot another color bisque and I use another, right? Let's put this another on this marked text class. I'm using a class selector, right? Dot, which is a class selector. Class equals another. So let's try that out. Then we have this. Another type of selector is a group selector, in which you want to style so different, you want different group of elements to have the same style. Maybe you want these header 2 and header 3 to have the same font size, but you know they are having different they even have different selectors already. So how do you go about that? You just group them together. Let's say, what's the group name for this one? We have, this one is a class red h2, so you can just say dot red h2. You add a comma, then the second one, which is what, header 3, but this one here is an id selector, so an hash header 3. Then you style it. Let's say you want to give it we want to give them a font size of 50 pixel, both of them. So refresh it, and let's see, red h2 is h header 2, red h3 is header 3, so which is these two here. Okay, we have two red h2 actually, header 2 and header 4, and we have h header 3 as header 3, so that is why we have. Now if you, let's play around a bit, let's change it, let's say 20, then you have this. So we grouped this and this together, red h2 and header 3 together. So any class or any id, any class that is having red h2 will be of any class that is red h2 in our html element will be of font size 20 pixel, and any id that is of header 3 we also have 20 pixel. Now these are three different kinds of inserting style sheet. What if, let's say, you want to style your red h2, you already have your external style sheet as red, but your h1 here, you want your h2, which is red h2, you, in your internal style sheet, you styled it as blue. The internal style sheet is going to overwrite the x. Let's change it to green, save it. Then if you check it out now, you see that you have green. Let's change it to blue. Blue. Now notice that this same red h2 here is styled in our external style sheet as red instead of blue, but what gets shown is the blue because the internal style sheet overrides the external style sheet. So let's do the same thing for inline style sheet. We've already seen that the internal style sheet overrides the external style sheet. External style sheet here is a color of red, whereby the internal style sheet is a color of blue, and the blue gets shown. Now let's change the inline style sheet to another color. Let's pick this brown. So you can see it. The inline style sheet overrides the internal then overwrite the external too. Still talking about colors. Remember from our primary school days when we have three primary colors in programming generally. Colors are displayed on the computer screen by combining three different kinds of colors: the red, the green, and the blue lights. Now, each of these combined in the right proportion can give you different colors. Now, we talked about red here, we talked about blue here, we talked about green here. Apart from these three colors, apart from the colors we know, there are millions, billions of colors that doesn't have name. Now, common colors that we know of, we know black, we know white, we know green, we know yellow. Colors that have names: cyan, purple, violet, any color that you can give a name to, not a local name though, you can use them here. Talking of violet, let's see violet here. That's violet. Now, any color that has a name, you can actually use them in your naming system for colors. Now, another color naming system is the RGB, the red, green, blue, combining them using let's remove this so that we can use our style sheet to work. Now, this is a basic syntax for writing an RGB color. It's just a way of mixing the red, green, blue color in different proportion, each color ranging from 0 through 255. So if you have RGB, a 255 piece, 255 red color, a 255 green color, a 255 blue color, what is it going to give you? It is going to give you a white. Now, while a 000, 0 red, 0 green, 0 blue is going to give you a black color. So that is just telling us that the RGB color ranges from the number 0 to number 255. Now, when it is 255, it is more like a full color. Look at it like three buckets of paint. You have one of them as green, one of them as red, one of them as blue. Now, when you have the empty paint, when you have the three bucket of paint empty, we call that a black color. Then when you have the three bucket of paint full and mixed together, that gives you, I've not tried it practically, but in computer science we assume it gives you a white color. Now, what if you have only your red paint bucket full? 255. What happens then? You have your red color full. That is just what happened. Every other color is empty. You have a full paint. You have a full bucket of red paint. What if you have green instead as full and the others are empty? What happens then? Just what you have. You have two empty buckets of paint, then one green bucket of paint. Same thing goes for the blue paint. When every other is empty and that one is full, then you have a blue paint. Now, the beauty of this is that you can actually have each of them ranging from 0 through to 55. Let's say you have 60 here, you have 78 here, you have 92 here. This will give you a color which even me, I don't know. One shade of black like that. I can't even imagine. Let's lighten it up a bit. Let's do it like that. You have something like this. You can go on to change these values until you actually get what you want. Now the beauty of this is that while the colors that as name are a bit small, the amount is a bit small. Can't just try to count the numbers of colors you know their name in your head and see how many you will get. But then there are so many colors more than the ones you have names for. That is why this color convention came up. Now if you multiply 255 by 255 by 255, that means this convention of color is going to give you about 16.5 million colors. 16.5 million different variations of colors. RGB color. This is how you write a comment in CSS file. You will see that it's different from an HTML comment. This is how you write a CSS comment. Now another color we can have is, let's say we want to style this H3. The H3 is an ID selector, header 3, and we want to give it a color of green. Let's see if that works first. Header 3, we're changing it to green, right? So now apart from this RGB coloring, we have another type of color called the X color. X colors. Now what the X stand for is hexadecimal, which is 0 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 A B C D E F, which means you can variate the numbers from 0 through F 6 times. Now an X color has 6 placeholders. 1 2 3 4 5 6. Now if you check this should give us black color. You can see, and if you change it all to F, 1 2 3 4 5 6, this is supposed to give us a white color. A white, it blends with the background, that's why it's empty. So an X color works with, you have to start it with an hash. The same way for this RGB color, you have to start it with an RGB and you put the values in brackets. For an X color, you start it with an hash and you put the values you want. FE23A6. That is probably going to give us one very funny color. So you have this. Now the catch here is that you can variate each of these 6 values from the value 0 to F. You can have 0 to F on this one. You can have 0 to F on this one. You can have 0 to F on this one. You can have 0 to F on this one. You can have 0 to F on this one. You can have 0 to F. So you can have 0 to F in 6 places. Now do the multiplication. That is 6 raised to power 16. Now that is supposed to be 6 raised to the power of 16. Each of these values can be variated 16 times. So, and you have 6 of them. So if you check that out, you should be having something around 2.8 trillion colors. Imagine what you can do with that. So which means any color you want, you can actually get. Now, there are many other attributes you can use here. Attributes such as max width, position, float, align, text align. Call out your attribute here, font size, and give it a value, pixel. So we are expecting our header 3 to be of 40 pixel here. So you can have so many values. Let's say float, right? You can see it floats to the right. So you have so many attributes. To get a full list of them, you can check out the CSS page on w3schools www.w3schools.com. So with this, we've come to the end of this lesson. I hope you understand one or two things, and I implore you to actually go ahead and try something. Check out the W3 schools for more attributes, build something, style it. If you have any issue, drop it in the comment box. I'll respond as soon as possible. Subscribe to the channel for more updates as we drop more videos. Thanks for watching.